Okay, so today I'm going to start um, reading my novel, and I'm going to do it also on YouTube and also just as a podcast. So I apologize for my voice. It is what it is. It's been like this ever since I had prostate cancer surgery on Thanksgiving of 2020, so I just have to deal with it, and hopefully I can get through all 47 chapters of this. I'm going to try and do a chapter a day, and we'll just see how it goes. So, the book is actually called The Dreamers, and I wrote it about 20 years ago, and you can find an abbreviated version as a book to read as a download off of Baker and Taylor and off Barnes and Noble off their website. So the book is called The Dreamers. I actually show that I wrote this in February of 1997. It's about two Christian athletes, and it's about the choices that they make very early on in their life, and all of the things that happen to them, good and bad, because of those choices that they made. They're both of strong Christian character, and it also proves that good things can happen to good people, and bad things can happen to good people. So the characters are Bill Allen, he's the main player, the star player. Bob Lawler is the second lead in the story. He's a great high school athlete. He's being courted by a number of colleges for scholarships because he's all-state in football, basketball, and baseball. His dad, Gus Lawler, is the clubhouse manager for the Double-A Meriden Monarchs, which is a Yankee team. Mary Lawler is Gus's wife. Red Dodge is the Meriden Monarchs manager. And Gloria James is the love interest, and she is the waitress at the Blue Light Diner. So the story is about Bill Allen, an outstanding high school baseball player with true major league potential. He is sidetracked because his immediate family's death and commitments he's forced to make through his family's loyalty, and so he's forced to stay back and run the family business and abandon his dream to become a Major League Baseball player. Later in life, somewhat due to his youthful appearance, he is given a second chance when he attends an open tryout by a Yankee scout for high school and college players left undrafted. They do not know that Bill Allen is in late 20s rather than his late teens, only that he appears to have immense talent. The Yankees do eventually sign him to a multi-million-dollar contract. In the story, Bill Allen fills a void left in the Lawler family, who loses their son, who is also the gifted athlete. He was murdered in a drug-related midnight basketball massacre in Chicago. The son was attending a theological school to become a priest and was asked to work in a wayward youth summer basketball program. An earlier college prank left him with a broken heart on a trip to a university, and he ran off and joined the service, altering the possible true destiny. Bill Allen's relationship with teammates, his new family, and Gloria the waitress are all explored as his maturity is tested and put to good use as he brings family, the team, and love back into focus in his own life. It is a story that proves with diligence, perseverance, love, and caring and making the right choices, any dreamer is able to fulfill their true destiny. So that's the basic synopsis of the book. And Bill Allen becomes a Connecticut Yankee. Hey kid, the place is closed. No one is allowed in here after the park is closed. Gus Lawler made you fully aware of his presence and who was in charge. What do you want in here anyways? Gus barked. I was immediately reminded that I was drafted into the Yankee organization. The dialect was unmistakable. I'm Bill Allen, I holler back. I was to report no later than Friday, but sitting around my grandparents' house was driving me crazy. Gus stood about 50 feet down the tunnel from the playing field that I was surveying for the first time. Come on down here, kid, said Gus, with a much friendlier tone in his voice. As I walked down the tunnel toward Gus, I could sense the presence, almost ghost-like, of former Yankee greats that had also used their stay in this same ballpark to hone their baseball skills. Could it be that I belonged here, in this same ballpark? Did I have what it would take to make it to the bigs? Come on now, Alan, stop daydreaming. I don't got all day, you know. Gus bellowed from the opening to the locker rooms. The echo of Gus's voice resounding, swirling down through the tunnel, snapped me from my thoughts of potential inadequacy. I started my trek toward Gus and the lockers, wondering how many times Gus had made the same statement to other rookies. It must easily be 200,000 or 300,000. As I got closer to Gus, I could see his lips start to curl, and then his right hand became outstretched. Alan, it's good to meet you, and welcome to the Meriden Monarchs. Your reputation precedes you, said Gus warmly. Come on in. I got you all situated with a locker in a great spot. As I shook Gus's hand, his face lit up just like it was Christmas morning. It was then that I realized that not only was Gus Lawler the Meriden Monarchs clubhouse manager, a job he had held for over 20 years, but he was also a fan. Gus was a true baseball fan, but you had to be to endure over 30 years in the bowels of a minor league ballpark. Hope always springs eternal, and I, Bill Allen, was to become Gus's hope for the new season. It's good to meet you, I said. I've never been in a ballpark quite this big before, but I guess I'd better get used to it. You've got nothing to worry about, said Gus, still smiling ear to ear. You're right, Alan. It's a little bit different up here. But from what I hear and what I've seen, you've got what it takes to make it in Double-A ball. Don't worry about it, Gus said as he turned and started walking toward the locker room. I followed Gus as he pushed his way through the double swinging doors. Around the rectangular room were cubicles with players' name written on white tape stuck across the top of each space. Jones, Myers, Bolton, Adams, on and on until I found Allen. Each cubicle was 5 feet wide, constructed of wood and freshly painted baby blue. The paint was so thick it probably equaled the thickness of the wood. At the rear of the locker was a full-width seat, and above it were 4 brass hooks. A full-width clothes pole was placed 6 feet from the floor, and above it was a shelf. I was also used to regular foot-wide high school lockers that this almost seemed like a disgusting waste of space. While I was admiring my new territory, Gus had sauntered off and returned with my entire uniform and a couple of towels. I thought you might like your old high school number, so I got Dave Bolton to switch, Gus stated. Gus saw the expression on my face and was quick to respond. Don't worry about it, Alan. He wasn't mad or nothing. All it took was a new glove, a couple of new jock straps, and some new Nikes. Gus started laughing, so proud that he had just pulled off the greatest deal of all time. Thanks, Gus, I said. I'm glad I negotiated a contract before the Monarchs realized they had the shrewdest negotiator since Jack Donelon. Gus was laughing even harder now. Gus started to make his way to a door off to the left of the locker room. Any place to get something to eat in this town, I said. He stopped at the doorway, turned and he said, give me about 10 minutes, kid, and we'll have Gloria fix us something at the Blue Light Diner, okay? Sure, Gus, that'll be great. I'll just unpack a few things and we can go. Gus turned and entered the room and closed the door behind him. The door was one of those that you see in private eye movies with the etched glass you can't see through. Across the middle of the glass in black letters, it said Manager Private. So that's where the infamous Red Dodge lives, behind the scenes. Red Dodge, manager of the Meriden Monarchs. That would be some meeting. I sat down on the stool that was pushed into the corner of my locker, tugged the zipper of my small suitcase. I started emptying the contents on the seat at the back of the cubicle. 2 gloves, Wilson A2000 models, one brand new, the other so dark from being oiled so much it was kind of floppy. But I just couldn't part with the old one. That old glove that I'd used all through junior high and high school. It would serve me a good reminder of where I came from, who I was, just in case my head ever got too big. I thought back to when I got that glove. I paid $48.50 over 5 weeks of paper route money back in 1961. It was Ron Santo's second year with the Cubs, before Ronnie came up with the Cubs. I'd always wanted to be the shortstop because Ernie Banks was Mr. Cub long before anyone had thought of his name. But now Ron Santo was here, a potential star third baseman with some sock in his bat. More than anything else, I believe that. I played third base, and so did Ron. It was Ron's strong personality that drew me to him. Fiercely competitive, you could sense that he did not take losing easily. This was the same quality I thought I had, but I now know that I was just a little hot-tempered and that it had nothing to do with an intense desire to win or team spirit. But at 14 years old, what did I know, and who was anybody to tell me different? Santo used an A2000, so that was the glove I would use. Good enough for Santo, good enough for me, I thought. My love for Ron Santo went so deep that if I had known what deodorant, soap, jockstrap, foot spray, and antifungal cream he used, I would have used it too. Sometimes you become so superstitious, you really believe that things like that make a difference. I don't anymore, but at 14, I sure did. Hey, kid, yelled Gus. I thought you were going to unpack some of your stuff. I thought you were hungry. I am, I replied as I awoke from my coma. I then realized that I hadn't accomplished anything in over 20 minutes. I'm sorry, Gus, but then he interrupted. Don't worry about it, kid. You weren't the first or nothing. Let's go grab some grub, what do you say? Okay, Gus, you're the boss, I said, as I soaked in his warm smile. Would you like me to drive? My car's right out front. That'll be great. My old lady doesn't like to make the trip. She hates this trip, but I got her to drop me off. She never really liked baseball like we do, Ellen. I thought it might grow on her, but over 40 years in it, it really never did. I could see the sadness surface on Gus's face. Men love to come home from a day at the office and dump their entire day's troubles on their spouse's lap. It's some form of therapy, I'm sure, one that was never prescribed for Gus. I could then see how lonely Gus might be and why he spent so much time at the ballpark. He loved it here, he was safe, but he also loved his wife. This was his whole life. Gus flipped off the lights as we pushed our way through the double doors and out of the locker room. The clicking of our heels made the sound you might hear down a lonely, deserted alley on a rainy night. I could almost imagine Bogart throwing down his lit cigarette, then snuffing it out with his left shoe. Then he would disappear into the night, and the collar of his raincoat pulled up around his neck. "Bill, what kind of a car are you driving? You got one of them fancy German machines or what?" Gus smiled as he inquired about my mode of transportation. He knew I signed one of the largest bonus contracts the Yankees ever dropped on a player. He also figured that I was like other players and blew it on fast cars, fast women, and fast living. "Sorry if I don't disappoint you, Gus, but that's my black Pontiac 6000 wagon over there. I know it isn't a Benz or a BMW. I hope you're not disappointed." Gus smiled with a little apologetic. "I didn't mean nothing, Bill," he said. "It's just that most of these guys here think there's God's gift to the Yankees. They come strutting in here like they've already made it. Big cars, fancy suits, and clothes like they should be pimping in the Bronx." "Hey, Gus, that's not my style," I replied in a firm voice. "I came here to really learn how to play baseball. My only agenda is to make it to the bigs. There'll be time for that stuff later, maybe, but right now it doesn't interest me." Gus sensed that he had touched a raw nerve with me, and he had. "Alan, don't take me wrong," Gus said as he raised his hands as if to stop the next word from coming out of my mouth. "I didn't mean you were some kind of a prima donna. It's just that I've seen them come and go over the years. Some of them had no talent to start with, but others just messed it away. A great opportunity gone." A smile started to stretch back across his face. "I don't want that to happen to you. Bill, you have more talent at this stage of your career than anyone I've seen step into this ballpark. You could be the first pitcher full-time player in Major League history. I just want you to have the best shot at it you could have, that's all." As he finished talking, he put his big thick hand around my neck and shoulders and gave me an affectionate squeeze. "I know, Gus. That's all I want too. Now let's get some of that good food you said Gloria can cook up for us. You don't mind if I treat, do you? That's not too extravagant, is it?" "Nah, kid, go right ahead. It may be the best investment you'll make." I opened the passenger door and Gus slid into the passenger bucket seat. As I walked around the front of the car, Gus and I both looked at each other. We both knew he just made a very important statement. Only I did not know just how important it really was to come. I pulled the Pontiac wagon into the blue light parking lot. Every town in America has